After his father remarries, Bastian has trouble dealing with hostile stepsister Nicole. At school, Bastian is bullied by Skip and his pals. Retreating to the library, he runs into old Mr. Coriander and again starts reading the NeverEnding Story, the book that transports him to Fantasia. Trouble ensues when Skip finds the volume and begins destroying the fantasy kingdom, forcing Bastian to return to the real world to stop him. 3.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 25% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's all you really need to know. So before we talk about this colossal piece of trash, let's talk about the original NeverEnding Story. The original NeverEnding Story is up there with other 80s classic kids movies where, even though it's made for kids, it definitely doesn't hurt to watch as an adult. It's one of those movies where it actually gets better with age. Movies like that, or The Goonies, or movies like An American Tail, or Secret of Nim, like a lot of the early Don Bluth movies. Those are good examples of kids movies, in my opinion, where they don't really classify just as kids movies, they can be classified as family movies. NeverEnding Story was a great example of multiple things. It was a good fantasy story, it was a good kids movie, it was a good family film, it was a well-made movie, it had a good lesson about the importance of reading and learning. It was just one of those movies where all around you can watch it in any time period and the movie just comes off as a timeless classic. And interestingly enough, it was playing in the background of that Backrooms movie that came out this year, so couldn't help but find that a little bit funny. Then there was the second one, which I didn't watch a whole lot as a kid. I watched it like a handful of times, and it's very apparent that it's nowhere as good as the original movie. But it's not the worst thing ever. It certainly ain't this piece of dick, because then when this movie came out, it was long after the other ones. It was just so blatant that it was trying to cash in on whatever star power the original movie had. And man, is this one hard to sit through. This is so bad. And while watching the movie felt like it took forever and a half, the movie's not even that long. It's an hour 35 minutes. It really isn't that long of a movie, but it just felt long because the shit that they do in this movie, it fucking sucks so much. Now, before I watched the movie, I did look up a little bit of trivia going into it, and I was not surprised to learn this information. It definitely makes the movie make a whole lot more sense when you know this going into it. This was originally made to be a TV movie. This was meant to be like an extended TV pilot to a NeverEnding Story TV series that went nowhere. But after doing it and ultimately deciding not to put it on TV, they decided, you know what? We got some star power in here. Just put it in theaters. People are sheep. They'll want to go see it. It has NeverEnding Story on it. People will want to go see it in the theater. And just watching this movie, and I feel this a lot whenever I watch certain bad movies, the fact that this was in theaters, as cheap as it looks, that was the thing that just kept pissing me off. It's like, I could just imagine the poor souls that had to go and see this in a theater and feeling so ripped off because of how shitty and how cheap this whole movie was. I also learned that one of the writers of this movie was one of the writers from the second movie, and I would love to imagine it was the lesser writer from the second movie, because man, the person who wrote this seems to know so little about the original NeverEnding Story. It's absolutely terrifying. Like, this is like the polar opposite of the first movie. The first movie had a very timeless feel. This movie just reeks of 1994, from the fashion to especially the soundtrack. There are so many forced 90s pop songs in this film, and it is so painful every time they have them play. I was going to save this for the end of the video, but the biggest insult, never once do they play the NeverEnding Story theme. NeverEnding Story. And I know that song is still beloved to this day. Where I work, they play that song on the radio every once in a while. So that shows the staying power of that song. But this fucking movie, they don't play it. They do not play that song at all. And that right there, in a NeverEnding Story movie, feels like a sin against the word sin. But what happens in this one? Well, okay. Bastian is a little bit older. This time he's played by the kid from Free Willy. which apparently they hyped that up a lot in the marketing, you know, because Free Willy was a super popular movie. And from a marketing perspective, I get it, but it is just funny to be like, oh, the kid from Free Willy, oh fuck, now we gotta go see it. But the movie begins with one of those, like, throwing you into the middle of a situation, and then the character stops, and they do a flashback, and they show, like, the first 20 minutes that led to that. To the point where it makes you wonder, why'd they even have it be a flashback? Just begin the movie with that.
1 year after his second visit to Fantasia, Bastion's father finally found a woman he wanted to marry, a divorcee named Jane Baxter.
In this case, Bastion's dad has remarried, and he now has a new stepmom and a new stepsister. The stepsister's name is Nicole, and the stepsister makes it very apparent that she doesn't care much for her current situation. She doesn't look at Bastion's dad as her new dad, and she says that she'll never see Bastion as her brother. And then, you know, by the end of the movie, they're eventually going to have some kind of special bond because of the whimsical adventure that they're going to go on. And what I find so funny about their dynamic is right away, she just tells him flat out that she doesn't care much for him, despite seemingly not knowing him all that well. And then he launches into this whole thing of, you know, oh, what if I told you I know a certain something about this fantasy world called Fantasia?
The Orin is a necklace of the childlike empress, the ruler of all Fantasia.
Please.
I'm not making it up. It's all written in black and white.
In what, a book?
The NeverEnding Story.
He doesn't think that that's not going to make him look crazy. And then her response to it is priceless. She says, oh, I'm not into all that new age hippie stuff.
Please. Spare me this new age garbage.
And then the following scene is her strumming wistfully on a guitar, moping in her room.
I wish I still saw.
Yeah, she's totally not into that new age hippy dippy bullshit, I tell you what.
So that is some new age bullshit.
They also established stuff with the parents, like the dad, who, much like every other reoccurring character from the other two movies, looks nothing like him because the actor's obviously different. I do remember this from the second movie, did learn about the book and learned about its magical abilities and actually became an active part of the adventure, you know, in that movie. But in this one, he does nothing. He basically does nothing the whole movie. Even when he learns that the book is involved, he seems to have forgotten that it had any kind of magic ability and never once brings it up.
Stole a book, something called The NeverEnding Story from the school library.
Any problems with the new school? Making any friends?
I'm fine, okay?
So it makes me wonder if this alleged NeverEnding Story series that they were going to make for television at the time, it's like, were they just going to completely forget about the second movie where the whole point of it was, oh yeah, the dad now knows about the book and its powers? I guess not. And then the stepmom, who's just a pushover the whole movie. Like, she's trying to be like a good parent and lay down some discipline to the kids, but then she waffles and flip-flops, and then she becomes like, you know, oh, but like, whenever you feel like it, you know, she becomes all like mousy and timid.
Okay, kids, let's get this show on the road. Take your time, Bastion. I can always write you a late note.
Jane, you had it right the first time.
I don't want him thinking I'm some kind of drill sergeant. I'll be pulling the car out of the garage. You know, when you're ready.
I don't know. She turns into fucking olive oil from Popeye, apparently. I don't know. But whatever. This passive-aggressive family dynamic that they have right off the bat translates to when they go over to school. And Nicole wants nothing to do with Bastion because he seems like a total dork. He tries to be Mr. Cool on his first day of school, and he puts way too much gel in his hair, and it makes him look like a fucking hedgehog human being.
Is he for real?
Nicole!
But then Bastion comes across the bookkeeper from the other two movies, who is no longer working in a shop, and he's now working in the school library. And of course, the NeverEnding Story book is in the library. He specifically says, oh, that's not for taking, just leave it there. That belongs to the library. Nobody's allowed to take that book out with them. Despite the fact that it's just out in the open. It's like, then why don't you put it in a secret compartment? Oh, of course, yeah, because then we wouldn't have a movie.
That is strictly a reference book from now on, and must not be taken from the library under any circumstances.
But while all that's going on, we have to set up the super, super cliche 90s school bully villains who they unironically call the Nasties. Yes, really. And the leader of the gang is a very young Jack Black.
What's up, little homie?
Right away you're thinking, those aren't kids. Like, those are a bunch of, like, late 20s, early 30-year-olds, maybe even older at that. Like, Jack Black is probably the youngest looking of the bunch, and he looks like he's 30. But at one point, they come across a janitor who recognizes them, and the janitor says, like, oh, how many times have you been held back already?
Yo, Mr. John, what's up?
How many times are you dweezils gonna repeat the 12th grade?
Till we break the record.
So I guess that was their way of explaining why these kids look older than everybody, even though they're obviously not kids. I don't know. But Bastion's getting chased by them. They're antagonizing him. And, well, then he runs into the library, ends up picking up the book. To get away from the Nasties, Bastion wishes that he could go into Fantasia, into the world of the book, like the other movies. And throughout the entire movie, every time they have somebody teleport from one world to the next, they do this horrible camera shaking effect.
It's my story, and I say I return to Fantasia to escape the Nasties!
They do it a good 5 or 6 times, and every time they do it, it's so obnoxious and so disorientating. So Bastion ends up in Fantasia, and we come across the bastardized versions of all these characters. You got the gnomes from the original movie. You got Falcor, who... My God, what did they do to Falcor?
Falcor, land!
Land? I can't land down there. I need a runway.
Falcor in the other movies was supposed to be the sort of wise old sage character who was, you know, very inspirational, and he knew when to say the right things, and in this movie, he just sounds like a fucking dope the entire time. He just has this goofy voice where, oh gee, I don't know what's going on half the time.
Yeah, am I still in one piece? It may not be Fantasia, but there's some cute dragons here. It could be just a rumor. Oh, this is no weather for mountain flying.
Can you imagine if they did that to characters like fucking Gandalf or Yoda or characters like that in movies? It's like, oh, Falcor, what the hell did they do to you? And then that's not all. Then you got the Rockbiter, who is married to a Rockbiter woman, and they have a Rockbiter baby, and it looks like a fucking sitcom. Like the mom/wife is in the kitchen making rock food while the baby is like watching a rock television.
Junior, I said no more rocks before lunch. Now stop.
Did someone see rocks before lunch?
Oh, but not only does the Rockbiter have a sitcom-style family dynamic now, he has a song number where he sings Born to be Wild as he treks across the landscape.
Get your motor running out on the highway.
And we also get a new character added to the mix, a talking tree, which, before they even said his name, I just kept calling him Treebeard. But no, apparently his name is Barky.
Barky, let's go!
Bastion.
Come on, Barky!
Yes, we have other fantasy characters with fantasy-sounding names like Falcor and Rockbiter, but the talking tree, he gets called Barky. Because I guess Tree-y was just somehow above this movie. So Fantasia is in ruins because back in the real world, the Nasties come across the book, and I don't know, like, I guess if they write in the book or if they just like hold the book open and say whatever they want makes it happen in the world. So when they open up the book and realize that it's jotting down everything that's going on in their world, they decide to use it to their advantage, and they're going to try and destroy Fantasia because they realize Bastion teleported into the world of the book.
In order to escape the Nasties, Bastion rushed inside the nearest door at the school library. Now, how can something that's happening right now be in this book? It ain't possible!
In the first movie, they kept it perfectly nebulous and vague and didn't go into the specifics of how exactly this kind of stuff worked. In this movie, it's like, wait, what the fuck is happening? What, like, is it if you write your own story or if they say what's going on out loud, it just makes it happen? It's so fucking like, wait, what is happening? And I was saying that throughout the majority of the movie. I'm like, what is going on? Whatever they say is apparently happening in the world of Fantasia. The world is being attacked by the Nasty. Named after their group, of course. That was their way of connecting it. The more I talk about this out loud, the more it seems like I watched some fucking Care Bears movie or some shit. Seriously. The Nasties. And then later on when, like, the Nasty starts to affect the real world and everyone starts turning into a jerk and yelling at each other and being mean to each other, they're like, no, you're being affected by the Nasty.
Dad! The Nasty is controlling you. Don't give in to the darkness.
The dumbest kids movie you've ever seen where they have no respect for the audience's intelligence. It's like, you know what, even if you're making a movie for kids, you still gotta respect their intelligence on some level, man. Whether you're making a movie for 5-year-olds or 50-year-olds, you still have a responsibility as a writer and as a filmmaker to respect the audience's intelligence and not treat them like they're a bunch of dumb shits. So Fantasia's under attack, and all the characters that Bastion comes across say that he has to go see the childlike Empress, who has apparently fled her ivory tower, and she's now hiding out in the mountains with this old bookkeeper guy and her personal assistant, who has this, like, just gigantic swollen brain, because I guess he's supposed to be the smart character. And every once in a while, they make an occasional head joke.
Well, that's using your head.
It's no time for cheap head jokes.
That statement is very ironic because I think you could have just said, I hope we stop with the cheap jokes, and it would perfectly describe the movie, because holy shit, this movie is filled with really, really shitty jokes. And that was the point where this is like 20 minutes into the movie, and shortly after they introduced the talking tree character, who every other line of dialogue out of his mouth is a joke. And then they do the same thing with the other characters like Falcor and the Rock Baby, and just every other character has like these stupid jokes in their dialogue. And it was at that point I was like, okay, this does not even feel like it's in the same universe as the original NeverEnding Story.
What is this? They said it was going to be sunny today. I think I'll take a rain check here. Whoa, careful. Watch the leaves, will you?
Because go back and rewatch the original NeverEnding Story. They treat that story very seriously. They know it's a fantasy, but everyone treats the story super seriously. And that way, you as an audience member get invested in the story because they're taking it seriously. So you, as an audience member, take the story seriously because you're getting invested because the story was just so well written. But in this movie, everyone is just cracking wise and making dumb jokes to the point where it's like, okay, they're not taking this seriously. Why should I as an audience member?
Hey, something's burning back here. Oh no, it's me. Quick, call the fire department. Call anybody. Get me some baking soda. I'm kindling.
Bastion and the other fantasy characters get to the childlike Empress, and she says the only way that she can send Bastion back is by using her Orin to wish him back into the real world. He tries to make the wish, he can't do it, so then he thinks maybe with the combined wish power of the other characters, maybe then he can go back. So he holds hands with a couple of the other characters, and then they end up getting teleported to the real world with him. And this basically becomes the conflict for the movie. And on paper, it's not a terrible idea. The characters of Fantasia ending up in the real world, and they have to find some way to get all these guys back before their world ends up getting destroyed or something like that. That's not a terrible idea. Unfortunately, with a mixture of really bad over-the-top acting, really bad joke dialogue, and a lot of characters just kind of sitting around waiting for things to happen, that's what really ruins this movie. Because once they end up back in the real world, Bastion just spends a majority of time sitting there in his room waiting for everybody to find where he lives so that they can regroup and make a proper plan to get everybody back to Fantasia. So then there are just a bunch of scenes of Bastion moping in his room, looking out the window like, come on guys, where are you? And it's like, God, do something, for the love of God. But then when we cut back to the other characters, you know, we have Falkor flying in the sky, and he misconstrues a plane for being a dragon like he is.
Oh, pardon me, ma'am. May I talk to you for a second? I'm a little lost.
You have the Rock Baby ending up on Mount Rushmore, and then he's saved by Falkor, and so that's how those two end up together. He ends up in a wooded area that's being deforested, and again, he just makes a bunch of dumb jokes like, oh geez, I gotta get out of here, oh, it's a chainsaw massacre.
I've seen that look before. Go, shoot, you're barking up the wrong tree.
And as for the gnomes, they end up getting saved through the power of a FedEx product placement.
Well, genius, got any ideas where we are?
Oh yes, it's definitely the human world.
I'm going to assume that was Germany, just based solely on the fact that apparently this movie was a German co-production. There's a lot of like subtle German product placement throughout the movie, and it's like, oh. And then when I look that up, it's like, oh, that explains it. The gnomes end up in Bastion's house, and all the other characters end up getting there. There's this really dumb, well, okay, I take that back. Dumb can describe a lot of scenes that are in this movie, but there's a dumb scene where the Rock Baby is in the house, and Bastion has to hide the Rock Baby from the rest of his family like it's E.T.
No, real Dolly.
Hi, Bastion.
I just came down for a late night snack.
And then a little bit later on, Barky ends up mailing himself to Bastion's house, and Bastion's talking with the delivery guy, and then Barky says something, and then the delivery guy just mugs and acts goofy. Oh, I gotta get out of here!
Between you and me, this one looks like he'd be better off in a wood chipper.
Shit. Meanwhile, the Nasties, they're supposed to be expelled, yet they keep hanging around the school. But as if that wasn't bad enough, these guys are elevated from stereotypical cliche 90s school bully, greaser, bad guys to straight up supervillains, because they have a fucking, like, evil lair in this strip mall area.
Bastion returned to his telescope, hoping against hope for some sign of his Fantasian friends. As the night wore on, his eyes grew heavier and heavier until he fell gently off to sleep.
But they have the book. Bastion needs to get the book back. He has the Orin, but he's specifically told not to use it because he's like, oh, well, I'll just wish them all back to Fantasia. No, Bastion, you can't do that.
The Fantasians who helped you got caught in a wish overload and are there with you in the human world. But you must not use the powers of Orin to stop the nasty.
Why not?
Because the new Fantasia that follows will be different. It won't include them.
Why can't he? Like, the second time he brings it up, they're just like, no, Bastion, you can't do that. And it's like, why the fuck not?
It's my imagination. I'll just make sure they're in the new Fantasia.
No, Bastion. You must find them.
Other than, once again, oh, well, if he did, then we just wouldn't have a movie. And again, I would much rather prefer that. Bastion spends a majority of this movie just kind of moping around in his room, hoping that all these guys will eventually find him and then they can all regroup and formulate a plan. But he's got the Orin sitting on his dresser drawer. His sister comes in and talks to him for a little bit, and then she takes the Orin and realizes it has magical abilities and decides to use the Orin to buy a shitload of expensive clothes at the mall with her friends. Then there's this stupid moment because every once in a while they cut back to the childlike Empress, who doesn't look even remotely childlike. She looks like she's like, I don't know, 19, 20 years old maybe. But she's watching all this play out, and she says something like, oh, I never thought to use the Orin to go shopping.
It never occurred to me to go shopping with the Orin.
Well, that's because you serve a higher purpose, my Empress.
You live in a fantasy world, lady. Like, there are shopping malls in Fantasia, and on top of that, it's like, you're fucking royalty. You can have literally anything you want. You have an Orin that grants wishes. This is what I'm talking about with the really bad jokes in this movie. It's like every single character is a goofball. Every single character you can't take seriously because everyone is so cartoonish and silly and have to have jokes in their dialogue. And it's like, okay, I can't fucking respect or take any of these characters seriously anymore. So Bastion finds out that his stepsister Nicole has the Orin. And so he brings the Rock Baby and Barky with him. And, well, oh, of course, at first they're like, well, what if people find it weird that there's these magical creatures walking around? But random, it happens to be Halloween night. So that way they can walk around freely and people will just think that it's just people in costumes.
Hey, that's it. If anybody says anything to you, just say trick or treat.
Trick or treat?
They end up at the mall, they come across each other, the parents come across the two kids and are asking like, what the hell's going on? That's when the nasties use the book to make everybody in both Fantasia and the real world turn into a jerk, where everybody's just like freaking out and being mean to each other. And then the sister, they try to give her a little bit of depth because very early on she's like, oh, this isn't going to last. You're just going to get another divorce again, Mom.
Don't you want to be a part of all this?
They're not my family, and this is not their house. You'll only get divorced again.
And then when the nasty starts to infect everybody, the parents start arguing with each other, and then she runs off and she's like, oh no, my parents are going to get divorced again, oh no.
My parents used to fight all the time. First my dad would start yelling at me, then they'd yell at each other. Don't you see? It's all happening again!
As if that was the most important thing going on at this moment. The world seems like it's going to fucking end, but oh yes, the fact that her parents are getting divorced, that's the most important thing. But then they try to give them a little bit of depth where Bastian tells her, like, I've always wanted siblings, I've always wanted a brother or a sister, and now I finally have one. I've just wanted to be your sibling, and you always push me away because you're a spoiled, entitled brat. And then she finally opens up to him and is like, I'm sorry, I've been so cold and neglectful. I should have welcomed you and your dad into our family since the beginning, yada yada. They're now officially on the same team. So then they go to take out the nasties, and there's a part where Bastian gets the Orin back because the bullies temporarily get the Orin, but Bastian gets the Orin back, and just as he's about ready to say, I wish, and make everything go good again, Jack Black starts circling him and is just like, why don't you put the Orin down? Put it down.
What are you doing?
I wish.
Big man, Balthazar. When you got the necklace. Put it down. Put it down.
He wouldn't put it down. You don't fucking put it down. But of course he does. Because then the sister starts reading from the book, and again, I don't know if like it says this in the book or if she's writing it into the book or if her just saying it out loud makes it happen.
It was if Bastian was transformed into a deadly combination of Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
She opens up the book and then says that he now has super awesome martial arts abilities and he beats the shit out of the nasties. And he wishes that all the Fantasia characters go back to their world. Everything is set right. The Rockbiter is not going to leave his wife because the baby comes home. And I guess they try to have this moment where you're trying to have like a compare and contrast where you see the Rockbiter fighting with his wife.
No, Dada! No, leave Mama!
And then it cuts back to their parents and they're arguing. And it seems like they're going to get a divorce too.
No, Daddy, don't go!
Nicole?
I don't know. It was one of the few things in the movie I'm like, oh, they're trying to do something narratively. It almost kind of worked, but not really. So the kids run home. They're reunited with their parents. The parents aren't going to get a divorce. And all the fantasy characters are back in Fantasia. Fantasia is set back to good. Everything's great. There is an admittedly kind of funny visual where I guess Bastian used the book to make the bullies into nerds. So you see Jack Black dressed up like a nerd with like big glasses and stuff. That was a little funny.
Bastian and Nicole, hi! Nicole, you know my girlfriend Marcia?
I do?
Sure you do.
They give the book back to the librarian, and then they do a slow motion high five freeze frame, and then the credits roll, where they play that Rockbiter cover of Born to Be Wild Again.
Alex make a lightning, heavy metal thunder.
Oh man, this movie was really bad, dude. I mean, shit. It's just, like, even taking the first movie out of the equation, like, let's say if this was the first of its own series, and this wasn't supposed to be connected to NeverEnding Story, this is still not a very good movie. The thing that is the most annoying about it is Every single character is so over the top and silly, you can't take anything that's happening in the movie seriously. Even when you try to scale yourself down, like, okay, it's a kid's movie, it's a fantasy movie, not everything has to make sense. Even in those terms, it's still not a very good movie. Like, the rules make no sense. It feels like even the rules that were previously established in the other NeverEnding Story movies, those don't make sense. The acting, especially from the Fantasia characters and the Nasties, they're super hammy and over the top, with the only decent performance being from Jack Black. And I know in previous videos I've complained about Jack Black being one of those actors who's super overexposed. You know, he's in way too many movies nowadays, and he pretty much just does the same shtick in every movie. That being said, man, Jack Black really was the best thing in this movie. He was the most fun performance throughout the whole film, because he's just being early Jack Black, you know? He's just being super funny, super silly, over the top. And I'm like, you know what? With all this other terrible shit that's going on in this movie, I like seeing him. Every time he's on screen, Jack Black was the most entertaining part of this whole film. But other than that, man, yeah, this is a bad sequel, this is a bad fantasy movie, this is a bad kids movie, bad family movie. Everywhere the original movie succeeded, this movie fucking fails. It's so bad. And it's like, it's one of those movies where it's fun to talk about it and discuss it, but actually watching it feels like a chore and a half. It's, oh, man. I mean, is it one of the worst movies I've ever seen? I don't know if I could say of all time, but for movies I had to sit through for Blockbusters, it's definitely one of the worst sequels I've ever looked at. I mean, shit, this is up there with all those other bad sequels we've talked about for Blockbuster Show. This movie is a fucking slap in the face to the original NeverEnding Story, which, I can't stress this enough, I highly recommend people go watch that movie. It's a genuinely good movie. It was so good enough, it ended up in back rooms. But this movie, on the other hand, avoided at all costs. Avoided at all costs, man. As for what we're going to be looking at next time, we're going to be looking at a movie that I guess is an adaptation of a book series. I'm not too familiar with the original book series, assuming that it even is based off a series of books. It's a 2015 spy comedy starring Johnny Depp called Mordecai, which I remember at the time was heavily advertised, but I never saw it because the advertising didn't really sell me on it. But I guess we'll finally see if this movie lives up to any kind of standards. I mean, I don't really remember anyone making a big deal about it when it first came out, so who knows? The movie's probably just going to be super mediocre and middle of the road and forgettable. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be worse than expectation. We'll see. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of The Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
If Balthazar could make up anything he wanted to happen in Fantasia while he read this book, maybe we could make a few things happen to him.